Okay, well, thank you for joining us. And today we have Jessica Lair, who is a teacher in the Peoria Unified School District. And quite frankly, Jessica has been a client of our firm for, gosh, around 14, 15 years, for quite a while, over a decade. And before we get started to talking about her and asking her some questions and getting some feedback from her and answers to her questions, I just want to say, we're not going to be discussing any financial products or any specific financial companies. This is simply an interview to talk a little bit about how Jessica has handled her overall financial life and her financial means and what she's come to. And just maybe we're hoping that this will be something that a lot of people can pull from, and maybe some motivation for those who are struggling a bit to try to get to a place where they want to be financially. So I'll just kind of give a little overview, and then I'll start asking you some questions here, Jessica. Thanks for joining us, first of all. And basically, you obviously got out of college at age 22. You've been in Peoria Unified that whole time, I believe. Mm-hmm. You bought a home years ago, and basically no car payments, no debt, and just a few other things. So that we'll talk about here is that you're basically in a situation where you're pretty well financially independent, and you're still at a very young age, and you've done all this really on your own. So I think what I wanted to do is, can you want to just, first of all, just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe what kind of drew you to becoming an educator?
Well, I've been teaching for 15 years, and I'm an aunt and a dog mom, but I'm basically your average person, your average teacher. And I chose to become a teacher because I wanted to be part of the community. I wanted to do something that was big, and teaching was a great opportunity to do that. And I have loved being a part of my students' lives. I love seeing them in the community as they get older and seeing their success. So that feeling never gets old.
Now, this is interesting because you actually teach at a school that I went to as a kid when it opened, and I'm not going to tell you what year it was because that's going to make me seem even older, but it opened a long time ago, and I went to that school from the 3rd grade through 8th grade in Peoria. Yeah. And so that school is near and dear to my heart. But I might want to say that what that school was when I was there was kind of more of a middle class school, but over the years, it's become more of a Title I school. So there's a lot of challenges that you have. Have you been able to share any of your financial, what's the word I would say, just your financial ideas and that sort of thing with maybe some of the kids and parents and things like that?
Well, we did BizTown last year, and it was a really great experience, helping the kids balance a checkbook and really noticing how much money they had and making financial choices of where they're going to spend their money and their businesses that they were doing. So that was really nice to have that in the classroom and help them make those choices and not overspending when you don't have money to spend, and how to fill out applications, make sure everything's complete. That was awesome.
Did you guys bring, and I know there's a BizTown, which is actually, for those of you that are listening, that are going to watch this, that don't know, that you can actually go to, and it's like it's in kind of a strip mall, right? I've seen it. Mm-hmm. And you go in and it has all these little actual businesses the kids can go and do it. Did you do like a virtual version of that, or did you actually take them there?
No, we created little stuff in our classroom. We wanted to go, and it was canceled because of COVID, which was unfortunate. But everything else, we were able to do some stuff in the class.
Excellent. And how eye-opening was that for the kids? I'm just curious because I know a lot of the kids, when we say Title I, for those that don't understand what that means, it's basically a lot of kids that have a lot of financial challenges. The families do. They're offered free and reduced lunch, etc. And so they don't get to see a lot of the things that a lot of financially successful parents may get to see. So how eye-opening was that for them to see that? And
right, it was really good. The interesting thing is, in Title I schools, you do have your pockets of kids whose families are in the business world and who do upper management type jobs. And so I was actually able to get some parents that work in HR and do interviews to come in and interview the kids when they applied for jobs for their BizTown. And so those parents gave the kids feedback about how you shake hands, how you make eye contact, how to answer a question to talk up your strengths. Really great things that I wish I had as a kid. But you think these are, 10, 11 year olds, and they're going to be going out in the workforce in a couple of years. And they're going to be that much more prepared because they had that experience. And these parents, outside adults coming in with experience that maybe I don't even have, so they're coming in to really help the kids broaden their horizons. And that was the most eye-opening for them, having that outside adult.
Did you get any, well, first of all, by the way, just as a side note, when we're done with this, I'd love to talk to you about our company sponsoring that for you.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, we'd be very interested. I think that's very important. Did any of the, did you get any feedback from, just out of curiosity, from the parents of the kids after that had been interviewed?
Well, I think that they enjoyed it. The parents enjoyed it because they were telling me about the advice they were giving the kids and kind of the coaching. They really did like being a part of that. And a lot of people told me you're going to have a hard time getting parents to sign up. I really didn't. I got enough parents, and I had small classes. I think, sometimes people misunderstand Title I and they think that parents don't want to, but I think it's just they don't know what to do necessarily. And so having the guidance of this is a very set program and this is what you would be expected, and it's just one day, they were willing to sign up.
That's awesome. Well, I congratulations on doing that, and hopefully you can keep that up. So, well, let me kind of shift gears just a little bit back towards you a little bit more. So, a few things, if you don't mind me mentioning, is just that I'm sure there's going to be viewers that'll say, well, of course, Jessica's financially independent because she's probably married to someone who has a lot of money. She probably got a big inheritance. She won the lottery. She has wealthy parents. You want to set the record straight on that, Jessica?
Yeah, no, I can't. I had a single mom and I had to pay for my own college. I worked 2 jobs to put myself through college. And that's why I got out of college debt free. And I paid for my own car, took out a loan for that. And I did have a slight inheritance to purchase my home. I put 30% down on the home, but I bought my home just before the recession hit. So it wasn't like I got a great deal. I ended up losing 70% of my home's value in that recession. And thankfully it's come back, but it's not like I was swimming in money with all the, increases in home values over the years. It really has come pretty close. It's gone just slightly above what I originally paid for it. So no, I do not. I grew up having to pay for my own stuff and having to find ways to save money to make it work. So I am not married to somebody rich and wealthy.
Okay.
I don't have children. That is the one thing that saves you money, but I have a dog and they cost money, and there are no tax write-offs for dogs.
That's
I keep
right.
telling the tax person that needs to be a tax write-off, my dog needs haircuts probably more frequently than children.
Definitely.
But I learned how to groom my own dog, so I didn't have to pay for dog, groomings when I was really stretching thin to save money. So I don't know, you get creative and you find ways to make it work.
Well, tell me a little more about, well, first of all, I want you to tell me a little more about that. And then after that, I would love to know more about kind of your upbringing. You said you were raised by a single mom. Yeah. Did she instill some of this in you? Did she teach you some of this, or is it just a lot of it you learned on your own? How did you learn that? And then kind of follow up with, what are some of the little things that you can do to, you always have a smile on your face. I've known you for pretty much since you started. You're always smiling. You have a good time. And we'll go in this in a minute, but you have the ability to fully retire at a young age. You and I had this conversation recently, and never work again. And you said, no way, I want to keep doing this because I'm having fun. I love what I'm doing and I'm enjoying myself. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing and how that kind of set you on the course that you are financially, how you think about your finances.
Well, I was always told, you need to invest early. You need to start saving and investing when you're young. And I didn't come from a family that really had a lot of money to invest. I was just told it's what you should do, but they were not doing it. So that was something like I always knew to save. And I was also like, I remember my mom specifically saying one time, she's like, even if those jeans are only $20, if you don't have $20 in the bank, you shouldn't go buy those jeans. And so it's kind of like, don't buy what you can't afford, don't overspend. So I just kind of, I grew up with that mentality. And so when things did get tight and, you know, like, especially when the house prices were coming so far down and my lights just went out, sorry. um, I really looked for ways to save money. And so I created this Excel spreadsheet where I could write down every category that I spend money in, like my home, and I had a line for my dog, I had a line for my water bill and my phone, food, gas, all those things were in a category. And I basically kept track of every single thing I spent, even if it was only 50 cents. And then I totaled out for each category. So I had a month of what I spent for everything. And then the next month I'd say, okay, how can I save and not spend as much as I spent that month? What could I cut out? And like, that's when I noticed my dog getting groomed was something I could try to learn to do myself. And there were definitely many times where I threw a dog shirt on him because I didn't want my neighbors seeing him. But that was one way I was able to save, or I would shop sales, that kind of thing. So I wouldn't be spending full price. And so that was rough, but I knew, like, if I sacrificed for a few years, like if I could save up money and pay down that mortgage, that it would be worth it. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't be struggling as I got older.
Well, that's interesting. So when you talk about your spreadsheet, and you know how big I am, all my clients know, and our whole firm is, we want you to fill out a monthly budget sheet. And you were one of I can tell you a handful of clients that I've had over the years that kind of said, oh, I beat you to it. I already have one. And you already had it, which is.
And it's color coded.
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, wow, she is on top of it. Like, cause I never hear that. Most people are like, I have no idea what my budget is. I know I don't have any money left at the end of the month. So I think there's two things people are going to say, right? Well, that's got to take a huge amount of time to do the spreadsheet and keep track of it. And the second one is going to, oh, well, you're missing out on so much. You're not living your life. I've been to your house many years ago and I don't remember the lights being turned off and you weren't eating top ramen and you had furniture and it was very nice. So what would you tell them and say, no, I don't have the kind of time to keep track of my budget and I would miss out on too much. What would you say?
I would say there's a lot of joy to find in the simpler things in life. Things like going hiking or going camping is a lot cheaper than going, to your gym's membership and also going to some fancy resort that you enjoy for a few days. Those things are nice, but you can do those things less often and do the other things that are much less expensive. And the thing is, the less expensive, the simpler things in life actually bring you closer together with other people. And so you have more enjoyment out of that. I guess I don't feel like I've missed out. I've still gone on vacations. I still enjoy time out with friends and family. It's at a different level, I guess.
Do you feel like the friends that you are around share your goals as far as how they manage their money and how they look at their finaal life, that sort of thing? Is it somewhat similar? Do you feel drawn to those people? Or
I think I have a mixed bag of friends. Okay. I have some friends that definitely are much higher above and pay grade than I am. And so they spend a lot more than I do and definitely go on many different exotic type vacations. But I have some friends that, make a lot less than I do. And again, they find joy in those simpler things in life. Instead of taking their kid to a birthday party at Sky Zone, they have the, birthday party at the neighborhood park. And it's just as much fun for their kids.
Right.
So, my friends are a mixed bag.
Well, that's good. I like what you said about bringing you closer to people because you're spending time with them and you're not worried about all those other things. You're basically, hunting, camping, being outdoors and just doing things together. I think that's awesome. The any particular, so you talked about your budgeting a little bit about your budgeting, that sort of thing. So one of the things that's really intriguing is when we had our meeting earlier this year, you said the house is paid off. So I've just got to say, I'll let you disclose your age. I don't, disclose your age, but you're welcome to if you would like to. But obviously you started teaching at what, 22?
23.
23?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
just out, just past 23. Or
Yeah, you were just turned 23. Okay. And here you are, and I will just say you're older than 23, but you're not at retirement age, and you no longer have a mortgage. So how does somebody do that in such a short period of time?
Okay. So, well, I like I said, I really watched my expenses and I looked at where I could save.
Okay.
And then I did sign, I signed up for the extra stuff at school to do the stipend jobs, to do the coaching, to do the tutoring. I never said no to those opportunities. First of all, they brought me closer to my students in the community, but they also had that extra little carrot dangling in front of me of extra pay. And so all that money went to the mortgage. And then also when I would save, I would put that money also to the mortgage. And I, of course, saved up an emergency fund first, and then I put the extra to my mortgage. And then once I had my emergency fund was getting so large, I was able to start paying maybe 2 payments a month, or I tripled my payments. Especially towards the last year, I put down a lot more on my mortgage. And then with all the raises that we got these past couple of years, all that stuff really helped. So it made it more possible.
That's outstanding. So did you kind of, I'm just curious, did you, the way you talk about it, it kind of almost sounds like you made it fun. You kind of set a goal to do. How did you do that? I mean, what incentivized you? I know everybody's different, but it sounds to me, and when we were talking before too, that you kind of like challenging yourself. So what'd you do?
I just said I wanted it to be paid off by a certain time. I wanted it to be paid off within this many years. And I looked at the numbers and I'm like, I think I can make it work. So I'm going to make it work.
That's
awesome. And the other thing is too, I kept looking at my mortgage payments and I didn't want to pay the bank interest. I'm like, that's my money. They're getting my money for free. That's not right. I didn't want to pay them more of my money. I'm like, I wanted to buy a home. I didn't want to pay the bank. So that was a motivating factor too, because the faster I paid it off, the more interest I saved in the long run.
Well, something that you talked about just a moment ago, you said that you would take on some extra things with your school district and so forth. And I know a lot of teachers that I've spoken with over the years said they had to take on second jobs and things of that nature. Did you do any of that? Did you take your summers off, or did you do a little something to earn money in the summers? How did you handle that sort of thing?
Well, I never had time to do a second job during the school year. Yep. And it was summer, I would do summer school for a few years. I did do that. But other than that, I haven't. I took advantage of any opportunity that came that any special training that would pay me also in the summer. I always took advantage of those things because again, it was a benefit to my profession and it was extra pay. But getting a second job, that was extra work. Now, during this whole pandemic, I did get a job working at, I don't know if I can say this on the recording, but you might need to bloop it out. I don't know. I got a job at Amazon and I loved that. I mean, it was a wonderful opportunity for me to learn something new and do something totally outside of teaching world. And that was a fun experience. And I loved working with all these different people, different age groups, totally different sector. It was great. So
you and I talked about that a little bit, and you thought it was something exciting, it was something different. So I'm just curious, you're going to be in a position where you can, and I'm not saying where you're just going to be taking your pension, but you and I talked about at a very young age. And when I say very young age, I'm talking just over 50 years old, like very early 50s, 51, 52, where you can walk away and really at the pace that you're on, you and I discussed this when we were looking at your plan, that you can pretty much walk away and never have to work again. It's if you want to work, which, many people obviously recommend, experts to stay engaged, that sort of thing. But you told me that it was interesting what you said to me, because I've had educators that they're in their 50s and they want to go do something different. And I get engineers that want to do something, and business owners that want to do. You've done anything for 30 years. Sometimes you want to keep doing it. Sometimes people are like, hey, I want to change. But you said to me that working there gave you the idea that, hey, maybe I want to expand my horizon. Maybe I do want to do something different after this. And it was exciting, and it was something that just kind of motivated you. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, yeah, I think as teachers, we hold ourselves to really high expectations, and we're sort of in that leadership role all the time in our classroom. And so the challenge of going out and spreading my wings to do something else has always been a little scary. But when I went to work in a different area and I had to learn something so different, I had success with that. Like, I was good at it, and it was a simple job. It was so simple, but it does something for your self-esteem when you go to something totally different and you're good at that. And so it kind of, and I never thought about working at that type of a job. I just had somebody, suggest it on the fly one day. And I thought, okay, I'll go and do it. And I literally went online and just applied that day. And it was something like I said, I never thought about, but it sort of opened my eyes to realize that our society is always changing. Things are so fast these days. And where life's going to be in 15, 20 years, there could be all these different opportunities available for me to pivot to outside of teaching, outside of the classroom, where I can use my skills, I can be somebody else and have fun with it.
Yeah, so you just hit on something that's really a big deal. I've had, for some reason, it seems to be more prevalent. Obviously we work with a lot of educators of all, different things from, and when I say educators, I mean, I look at anybody that works at the school district in some ways affiliated with education, from a superintendent to the teachers, to principals, and to the custodians. And they seem to have it more prevalent with the actual classroom teachers that I've taught my whole life. I can't possibly do anything else. And it sounds like you found that's absolutely not the truth. Mm-hmm. I know myself, being a business owner for most of my life, is I'm always just looking for bright people that work hard, show up, and do what they say. Really, that's it. So is that kind of what you found when you got there? Because there aren't a lot of people that do that, believe it or not, in this world. People complain they don't have a job, but they don't work that hard to go get a job and work hard enough to keep that job. What did you see? Because you got some really interesting feedback from your management team. I guess where I'm kind of going with that. I know you don't want to brag on yourself, but go ahead.
Wait, management team? I'm trying to remember.
Well,
now what
you were telling me that the people there were like, wow, it's so great having you here. And, you work so hard. And
yeah.
You're telling me, well, just, I thought everybody did that.
That's just it. Like, when I was there, it was like, I think it's the second or third day, the safety person's like, oh, well, come on and follow me. And she's showing me how to do this other job that I wasn't trained on doing. And it's like my third day. But that's kind of how it works working with them, I think, is they are willing to train you. And I think that was what I learned was in the corporate world, if you show that you're capable of doing the job you were hired to do, that the next step is, well, let's see how you can handle this next piece and this next piece. Whereas teaching, like, I'm already at the top of teaching, unless I want to go be an administrator, which is something I don't want to do, but in the business world, like, there's different areas and different jobs and tasks you can take on. And so I think seeing that, and you have to be willing to take that entry level, I guess. I didn't really care that I was just sorting boxes, but there were definitely opportunities where, like, there was always something on the board when you came in the morning where they were saying, you can train to do this job now, just talk to management and you can just apply. And that was just a really great experience. And honestly, they take really good care of their employees. There are all sorts of things that they would give away, freebies and wonderful things. I won an iPad. It was awesome. I thought it was great, things that you don't really get in the classroom as a teacher.
Did you keep the iPad, or did you sell it and pay down your house?
Yeah, I did sell it, actually.
Oh my gosh, I was only kidding.
I sold it because I don't really care for eye products. Sure. So I tried some online ways to sell it, and I never felt comfortable selling it to these people online. So I had a friend down the street from me, and so she bought it from me to give to her husband for an anniversary gift. Everybody's happy.
That's awesome. Well, let me ask you if you want to give, it could be one or two or three little tiny things that you could say to somebody they could start doing. Let's talk to the person out there who is maybe struggling a little bit. There's maybe two or three things that they could do to kind of get themselves on track. And then let's talk a little bit about that. There's a 22-year-old teacher sitting here, and he or she is saying, I just got an education. I'm a little overwhelmed. Give me a couple years and I'll get around to this saving thing. What tips would you give them? What advice would you give that person?
Well, I would go and I would really start taking enjoyment in the simple things in life. Not everything has to be new. It's okay to buy something used, and like a used car is great because when you drive that new car off the car lot, it loses its value really quick. So I also think that new teachers, they really need to learn how to reach out and share what they need, because there is a whole army of support people that will come and provide teachers with things that they need. You put out there, like I sent out an email, anybody have extra decks of cards for my, my class, I need to use them today. And I have like 10 decks of cards by the end of the day, So I think newer teachers really need to learn to reach out instead of going to the teaching store and buying everything brand new. It's really expensive. Even like dollar store and Walmart stuff, it can get pricey. Talk to your principals, talk to the staff, that kind of thing. But like I said, enjoy the simple things too, because hiking is cheaper than a gym. And also don't feel pressured to buy something. I think a lot of times, and I've made mistakes too, where I've purchased things, or where I've wanted to have something done on my home and somebody comes in and tries to pressure me into buying, you have to get this now, otherwise the deal is gone. Well, usually those deals are not worth it and you'll regret it in the end. If you can't sleep on a decision overnight and make a decision the next day, it's probably a really bad decision.
Yes. Yeah. I think they call it buyer's remorse.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So that's the advice I would give.
So kind of a couple of the last things here, and thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome. This has really been awesome. I mean, I know a lot of this is just, when we spoke, when you and I had our meeting, you said, well, I don't really know what to say. But everything you said is just great advice. It's just really simple things that people can do. But let's go to the very end here and let's just talk about, how do you feel right now? I mean, how much pressure do you have on your right now financially? Do you feel financially free? I mean, what does that feel like? I'm just curious for those that want to get to that point. What's it feel like when you're in that? And I'm not saying that you're just sitting on top of a mountain pile of gold and everything. I mean, you're still watching your P's and Q's and you're being careful with everything. What kind of comfort is that giving you? Or, peace of mind, I think was what we always say.
It feels very empowering. Like if my car breaks down or if my air conditioning unit goes out, I can pay for that. I can cover that. And that's a really comforting feeling for me, because I don't think years ago, I didn't feel that way. And that was kind of that uncomfortableness, but I can sleep peacefully at night. And I know that if something comes my way, if some hardship comes down the line, I can take care of it. It's a great feeling to have, that I don't have to go scramble to take out a loan or, big money from family. So it's a really, it's an amazing feeling. It really is. Awesome. And then having that excess money each month is really nice too. Because if I wanted to, take a weekend trip, I can just go on a weekend and take the trip. I'm not limited. So I love that feeling.
And the last question I'll ask you is, how many of your friends or coworkers ever come up to you and say, Jessica, what are you doing? Can you share this with me? Can you kind of help me? Do you get much? I'm just curious. Do any of them?
Well, I typically don't talk to my coworkers a lot about money. And yeah. I mean, the coworkers I talk to about money were pretty like-minded with our spending habits. So it doesn't really come up a lot. I don't know. It's kind of a taboo subject for some people.
Sure, sure. Yeah, and I understand too, for some people it's uncomfortable. It's too bad that they don't reach out because I'm, like you said, there's help everywhere around you. And I know teachers, just because I've been working with them for so many years, if there's not a more giving people than being a teacher, obviously, because it's teaching obviously encompasses a lot of fields, not just being a classroom teacher, but yeah, also some of the most giving people ever, giving of themselves and you know, financially and whatever they can do. So that is fantastic. Well, if there's, is there just, I guess is the last thing, is there anything else you would want to add at where we're kind of finishing up here?
I think we covered a lot.
Yes, we did. Yeah, you did a great job. I really enjoyed this. So, all right. Well, like I said, so we're going to get this, hopefully we'll have this recorded and be able to, you know, run it by you here soon. And thank you so much, because I think a lot of people are going to be able to take a lot from this. So we appreciate it.
All right. Thanks.
You're welcome.